Welcome to The Explainer. Let's talk about something that drives leaders crazy. Why do even the best strategies just fall apart? It's usually not a bad vision. It's a lack of clarity. So today, we're going to break down how you stop just hoping for alignment and start actually engineering it. All right, let's really dig into this quote because honestly, this one idea changes everything. It's a total game changer. Think about it. It's not your people who are the problem, it's your systems. All that friction, that constant miscommunication you see as a company grows, that's not a personality clash, it's an architecture problem. Okay, so let's start with a scenario, and I bet this is going to sound painfully familiar to a lot of you. Picture this. You're in a big strategy meeting, everyone's nodding, the energy is high, total agreement. Then, fast forward 3 months, and what's happened? Pretty much nothing. That frustrating gap? That's what we're calling the alignment glitch. It almost always starts at the top, right? With a simple, clear directive. The CEO stands up and says, "Our new priority is enterprise growth." And in that room, it feels like perfect clarity. The goal is set, everyone's on board. But what happens the second people walk out that door? Well, the second that meeting is over, that clean signal starts to break apart, almost like a game of telephone. Marketing hears enterprise growth and immediately translates it through their own filter. They think, okay, time to build some really high-end content and run campaigns targeting the Fortune 500. And look, that makes perfect sense for them, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. At the same time, over in the product department, they hear the exact same words, and what do? They start tearing up their roadmap. They're thinking, all right, we need SSO and admin controls stat. And all those SMB features, let's push them down the list. So now they're building for a totally different user, all based on their interpretation of enterprise growth. And what about the sales team? Oh, they hear it as a direct order. Start calling the big guys. The problem is, they're still stuck with case studies from mid-market companies. So you've got 3 teams all working incredibly hard, all believing they're executing the strategy, but in reality, they're running in 3 slightly different directions. And, this is where it all lands. 3 months go by, the CEO is looking at the results and is just completely frustrated, saying, "What is going on? Nobody is executing the strategy." But here's the thing. It wasn't a failure to execute. It was a failure to translate. This isn't a people problem, it's a signal problem. The original message just wasn't robust enough to survive out in the wild. Okay, so if we agree the problem is the signal, then the big question is, how do we fix it? Well, it means we have to go deeper than just setting a bunch of goals. We've got to get to the core of what actually drives people's behavior day in and day out. And it's not a target on a spreadsheet. It's a shared belief. Just look at the difference here. It's huge. The goal, increase enterprise revenue by 40%, tells you what to do. But the belief, building for enterprise makes our entire platform stronger, that tells you why. A goal is a destination you're trying to hit. A belief is the compass that keeps everyone pointed in the right direction, especially for all those little decisions they have to make when you're not in the room. And here's what the best leaders do. They don't just state the belief and walk away. They build what you could call a belief bridge. It's a simple 3-step process to connect that big, high-level vision to what people are actually doing every day. First, what do we believe? Second, why does it matter? And third, how do we prove it with our actions? This is how you take a fuzzy, abstract idea and make it real. So let's get practical. How do you turn this into a system? The big mind shift here is to stop treating clarity like some kind of soft skill, something that depends on a charismatic leader. No, you need to start treating clarity as infrastructure. It's as fundamental to your business as your code base or your accounting system. Think about what an operating system on a computer does. It just runs in the background, making sure all the different programs can talk to each other and work together without crashing. A Clarity OS does the exact same thing, but for people and for understanding. It's a set of protocols that make sure the company's core beliefs are interpreted and acted on the same way everywhere, whether the CEO is in the room or on vacation. And this OS is built on a pretty straightforward 5-step process. First, you translate those abstract goals into clear beliefs. Then you align every single department around them. Step 3 is to operationalize it. Turn those beliefs into actual metrics and behaviors. Then you have to reinforce it, reward the people who live it. And finally, you have to adapt it because your company is always changing. When you do this, clarity stops being this thing you're constantly fighting for and becomes a reflex, just part of your culture. Now, look, if you're still sitting there thinking, yeah, this sounds kind of nice, but is it really essential? Let's talk about AI, because artificial intelligence has just turned this entire conversation from a should do into a must do. Your unclear strategy, it's not just an internal problem anymore. It's about to become very, very public. I mean, have you ever tried to use an AI chatbot for customer service and it just sends you in circles? You ask a simple question and it gives you a bizarre, unhelpful answer? Well, guess what? You're not just dealing with bad tech. You are literally interacting with that company's internal confusion, just amplified and spit out by a machine.
And here's the critical difference between people and machines. When you give a person an unclear instruction, what do? They use their brain. They fill in the blanks, they make an educated guess, they smooth things over. But an AI, it can't do that. It has no intuition. It takes the signal you give it, no matter how messy or confusing, and it amplifies it. It reflects all your internal ambiguity right back at your customers. So let that sink in. Your internal chaos is now leaking out. It's in every chatbot response, every automated email, and this means the winners in the age of AI won't be the companies with the most powerful algorithms. It'll be the companies with the clearest, cleanest signal for those algorithms to run on. You have to build the Clarity infrastructure first. Which brings us to a really fundamental shift in what it means to be a leader today. Your job isn't just about having a big vision or giving inspiring speeches anymore. Your new and maybe most important job is to be an engineer. You're an engineer of clarity. And listen, this isn't just some abstract management theory. You can actually feel the difference when it's working. The whole organization just feels like it has momentum. Meetings suddenly get shorter and way more decisive. Decisions get made faster, at every level. And people stop arguing about what we should be doing, and instead they have healthy debates about the best way to do it. You can actually boil this whole system down to a simple formula. Real clarity equals speed times belief times consistency. Think about it. If you have speed without belief, people just burn out. If you have belief but no consistency, you just have chaos. But when you get all three of those things firing together, that's when you get that unstoppable momentum that actually scales. So this really reframes the whole job of a modern leader, doesn't it? It becomes less about being a motivational speaker and much more about being a systems architect. The most valuable thing you can do is not just have the vision, but interpret it for everyone else. Your job is to build the machine that turns abstract ideas into real coordinated action on the ground. So when all is said and done, what's the big takeaway here? It's that the most powerful, most scalable resource you have is not your funding and it's not your headcount. It's shared belief. When you engineer a system for clarity, you unlock that belief. You turn it into the bandwidth your company needs to really grow. So the final question for you is pretty simple. Are you still just managing alignment, or are you ready to start engineering it?